So, what is the state of water supply in Gauteng, at least since the province has been battling shortages? Rand Water says currently there's more than enough supply to last through the festive season. So let's try and make sense of where we stand when it comes to water demand versus supply and bring in Rand Water's Chief Executive, Sipho Mosai, who joins us now via our video link. And it's great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks very much for making time this Monday morning. And I suppose as we kind of gauge where we stand, an important question to start with is whether or not we are concerned about if we have enough of this resource or if we should be concerned about how we're spending what we do have available.
Yes, good morning, and thank you so much for having us. I think the latter of your comments is extremely important. And I think we need to look at this supply and demand slightly different going forward. And certainly we are advocating for a different way of doing it. So in the shortest possible time, we have enough water can go about for all of us. But in the long term, we have to, as I say, reimagine how we look and attend to the issues of water supply and demand requirements in Gauteng going forward. Certainly, we don't believe that an approach of just building infrastructure, adding more water without asking ourselves difficult questions around water use efficiency going forward is a sustainable way. I think for a number of years, as a sector, our approach has always been add more infrastructure, build more dams, build more water purification works, and beyond that, we do not ask the question of water use efficiencies. And we believe that that is the way to go, particularly in an environment where we're finding ourselves, where in Gauteng, all odds against us. One, we are a water scarce province, water stressed province, smallest. We don't have enough rainfall and we can't build dams in here. But thirdly, we are hard hit by El Nino state, which is now characterizing our province at the west. But fourthly, we have a municipal financial situation that it's very distressed. So we cannot just add water without asking ourselves and taking a deep dive into the demand and water use efficiencies.
Yeah, and I suppose there's space or room to kind of tackle all the issues, right? So yes, there is a lot to be said about how the water is being used, but simultaneously, these things are not mutually exclusive. There could also be a lot being said about whether or not the infrastructure, for instance, we have is good enough such that we don't have as many leaks, as an example, that we do have. But let's speak about our usage as a start. I mean, when we speak about improving that, where's a good place to begin? I mean, is this an issue for ordinary households to take heed of, or is it more industry and business? I suppose to some extent it's both.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. We have to look at it from all facets. I mean, if you're dealing with demand management, supply and demand curve, and being at equilibrium at all material times, you still need to augment, you still need to upgrade, you still need to refurbish. And from bulk point of view, we have done that very well for a number of years, over 120 years. The infrastructure that you see in my background, it's 150 million liters of water we have added in 2023. We built the largest post-tension concrete reservoir in the world in here in Ekurhuleni. So we need to do that. We need to still continue to augment. But I think in my view, the biggest Achilles heel that characterizes the challenges of water provision, it's at the distribution level, at municipal level, and mainly on water leaks. And I'm not picking up on anybody, but I'm just saying we need to then refocus as a sector in that space. Physical losses are sitting at about 33% of the water that we provide, which is about 1.7 billion liters of water when we peak at 5,200 million liters of water a day. That's a lot of water. So I think for me that is a quick and short term and the cheapest way of tackling this task. As you say, I know it has to be dealt in all aspects, but I think we need to start there. We need to make the necessary investments in the distribution network, upgrade, refurbish that. I think we have a serious backlog in that. So as a country and as a Gauteng, that's where we need to focus our resources at. The short and medium and long-term things that we can. We understand infrastructure takes time, it's expensive. But if you look at water conservation and demand management measures, there are a few things that we can deal there. with immediately night flows, reducing the pressures, and reducing, obviously, in turn, the leaks before we even go into the household. So really, when you talk about water consumption, we're not talking water at home, but of course, even at home, you want drinking water to be used for drinking purposes. That can certainly assist. So, but you're right, we need to do all of those all at the same time. But I just think the focus has to be on water use efficiencies, particularly attending to leaks, particularly attending to physical losses, non-revenue water, because we supply bulk water to municipalities, and if that continues, they'll continue to struggle to pay us, which has been a recent phenomenon that characterizes our debtors days in recent times.
Absolutely. And there's been symbolically, it seems like there's been intervention at the highest level, right? The Minister of Water and Sanitation, Sipho Mosai, has been on his own fact-finding mission, so to call it, and he's announced a raft of interventions, and you spoke about, for instance, reducing pressure at night as a possible solution. He's spoken about water shifting at some stage, and I wonder if you're able to demystify what this means for us, at least from your own understanding, because I'm sure you can imagine there's a whole lot of skeptics among us who are suggesting that what's taking place with load shedding is being in some ways replicated when it comes to our water provision in places like Gauteng. What do you understand about water shedding, and more importantly, does that sound like a sustainable solution for you, at least in the medium to long term?
Yeah, look, load shifting is not a new concept to us. And then we've been practicing for the last 100 years. But load shifting means you're moving from water from one area to another. We have interconnected pipelines and reservoirs in the systems from which we supply all 4 provinces and 17 municipalities. So what we do is, depending on water consumption in one area over another, you'll find that, let's say, in Mapleton system, the water demand is low and the reservoirs are full. We then move that water from Mapleton system to Aikenhof system, either i.e. moving water from the east rand to the west rand, depending on the consumption and water use and the demand in those areas. That's what system operators do. And it's confused as so-called water sharing, which I don't know what it means within the bulk water provision point of view, because our water availability factor is sitting at about 90%. Plant availability, reliability is high. So what we do, we move water around to meet the demands in one area over another. So it was a short-term intervention to help a South Hill area to look at where water was stored and put into that space. And the minister talked about it as an intervention then. But it's not a long-term solution to move it around. We need to look at the demand. We need to say, where is that demand? I believe there's what we call real demand and superfluous demand. In superfluous demand is that demand that includes water losses, physical losses. We need to, borrow your term, to exercise that superfluous demand, get rid of it, because there will be enough water to go about. And we will not be talking about load shifting to assist one area of the other. But it's not a solution long term. It's something that we've been doing. It's not a new term to us.
Right.
It's just that it gained momentum when the minister spoke about it.
Yeah. Look, I understand the need not to necessarily put anybody's head on the chopping block, but to what extent would you say that the dysfunction at municipalities, governance issues, have a bearing on your ability to essentially do your work as best as you can? I mean, you spoke, for instance, about leakages, which we know are within the purview of municipalities. There's issues of outstanding debt, the rate at which municipalities are able to pay you as a bulk water supplier. And in my mind, at least in the line of work that I do, all of that could be distilled fundamentally to governance issues, which have been the Achilles heel for many municipalities across the province.
Yeah, I think my view is that it's more of institutional modeling than anything for the water and sanitation sector. I think, in my view, if you look at the municipalities that have been doing well and paying us on time over a number of years, they started taking a lot of strain during COVID. I think, in my view, municipalities going through difficult economic hardships, And my view is that we need to change that. I personally do not think that there's any municipality that has taken a deliberate decision not to pay us as a result of governance issues, and that's my view. I just think we as a people, through IDP's Water Services Development Plan, we have not been vouching for an increased investment by our municipalities on water and sanitation infrastructure. So there's a serious backlog. I mean, in terms of upgrade, refurbish of water and sanitation infrastructure in municipalities, and we are not budgeting enough for that. And I think the model has to change. We need to build a model where we ring-fence water and sanitation so that revenue that goes from you, I underpaying for water and sanitation, stays in the water sanitation sector. If we ring-fence that and have proper institutional model, we can even go into the marketplace and request funding to upgrade and refurbish infrastructure at municipal level. So I think it's a backlog issue in my view. It's a shortage of investment in water and sanitation, but we need to talk long and hard about it as water sector to say we do not, I personally don't think we are putting enough money, particularly in the distribution part of the value chain, to deal with water and sanitation issues. And often enough, I've heard a lot of people say just pump more water, just add more water, and not deal with the distribution challenges in our network. So that is how I see it. I see more and more municipalities grappling. Some of them have just completely stopped paying us. Of course, it's going to create long-term problems for the water sector, not only rainwater.
Absolutely. Very sobering discussion. Thanks very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. And it sounds to me that we still have an opportunity to ensure that these issues are dead in the water, so to speak. So hopefully some of your calls are heeded rather sooner than later. Sipho Mosai, appreciate your time on the AM Report. Sipho Mosai is the Chief Executive at Rand Water.